Welcome to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast, your weekly news roundup of hunting, fishing, trapping, and conservation stories from around the Gem State. Hosted by Fish and Game's Public Information Specialist, Connor J. Lease.
And welcome everyone to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast. It's been a pretty busy week for hunting, fishing, trapping, and conservation stories here in Idaho. This week on the Hook and Bulletin, we'll be talking about controlled hunt results, how to use bear spray, and the essential guide to urban fishing. But first, we have a brand new opportunity for sharp-eyed folks to get involved. It's called the Turkey Tracker, and it goes like this. Idaho Fish and Game is launching a new project, the Turkey Tracker, to learn more about the state's turkey population. The agency is asking people to spot and record wild turkeys on Fish and Game's website, especially during July and August, when hens are with young ones. All you need is a smartphone and a keen set of eyes. Next time you're out and about and see some wild turkeys, pull out your smartphone and document your sighting in the Survey 123 mobile app. Folks also have the option of downloading photos of the birds, which is just an added bonus, but is not required. Think of it as like Pokemon Go meets birding. The annual turkey survey will rely solely on people reporting turkey sightings, including how many birds were spotted and in what county they were seen. The purpose of the Turkey Tracker is to monitor wild turkey reproduction and population changes throughout the state, and we need all the help we can get no matter where you live across the state. For more information, head on over to Idaho Fish and Game's Wild Turkey webpage or hit the link in the description to read Roger Phillips' latest story. Next up, some updated CWD information for big game hunters.
The CWD Report.
Deer hunters are going to see some more mandatory CWD testing requirements for several hunting units in central Idaho along the US 95 Highway 55 corridors south of Grangeville. Elk and moose will be exempt from mandatory CWD testing. The following changes for the 2024 hunting season are as follows. Unit 18 was added to Unit 14, which makes up the CWD management zone for 2024. Unit 15 was removed from the management zone because no positive animals have been found there after extensive testing. People hunting in the CWD management zone must abide by special hunting rules, which can be seen on our CWD webpage. New for 2024, CWD testing is mandatory in Units 18, 23, 24, and 32A for mule deer and white-tailed deer, and continues in Unit 14, but does not apply to elk and moose taken in any of these units. Units 23, 24, and 32A are not within the CWD management zone, so carcass transportation restrictions do not apply. Mandatory CWD testing no longer applies to elk and moose, which are less susceptible to CWD than deer. However, Fish and Game will still accept voluntary samples from hunter-harvested deer, elk, and moose in any unit. Here's a quote from Rick Ward, Idaho Fish and Game State Wildlife Manager. The ultimate goal is to slow or prevent the spread of CWD because it will negatively affect the deer populations and hunting opportunities. We want to keep CWD out of units where it's not present, but we can't do that if we don't know exactly where the disease is. End quote. Now hunters, here's where you come in. You play a critical role in testing since there is no live test for CWD, and getting accurate and current information requires annual testing statewide. CWD is more manageable and spreads slower when only a small fraction, less than 2%, of the herd is infected. Research has shown that if prevalence exceeds 5%, CWD spreads much faster into more animals, which eventually leads to smaller deer populations. Active and adaptive CWD management that keeps the number of infected animals low typically results in reduced spread, fewer sick animals, and more healthy deer available for hunters. We will continue to put out more information as the 2024 big game hunting season draws near, but for now, head on over to Idaho Fish and Game's website or hit the link in the description if you want to learn more. All right, moving on to pond fishing. Urban ponds are a huge resource for Idaho anglers. There are over 60 just in the southwest region alone, and they're quite common throughout the state. If your local city park has a pond, chances are pretty good that it has some fish in it. Fish and Game stocks rainbow trout in local ponds about half the year while water temperatures are cold enough. In addition, most ponds also have some warm water fish, such as bluegill, bass, pumpkin seed, and maybe even yellow perch or crappie. Ponds are a convenient option to get your fishing fix without investing a whole lot of time or money. And even better, they're kid-friendly places that make for a fun local adventure for a few hours or a few minutes, depending on what kind of kid you got. Many ponds also have parks nearby with playgrounds and bathrooms. Combine some fishing with throwing a frisbee, doing some bird watching, or walking the pooch, and you got yourself a pretty well-rounded trip. Now, it's important to have realistic expectations when pond fishing. Most anglers are unlikely to catch a limit of fish, or catch the trophy fish of your dreams, but you are guaranteed to get out of the house and enjoy some relaxing time outdoors. Kids love being around ponds, and while fishing may be the focus, be sure to let them roam, explore, play. A positive experience will make them want to do it again. Our sport fish coordinator, Martin Koenig, just put out a great guide, the Essential Guide, to fishing in urban and suburban locations. It's pretty in-depth and worth taking a deep dive into rather than a skim, so hit the link in the description to give it the full read-through. All right, last up, we got a pretty cool fishing story coming out of the Panhandle region. Over at Lake Pend Oreille, in an effort to support the needs of fish and the desires of the lake's anglers, Fish and Game staff have been spawning adult kokanee and then releasing fry from those spawning efforts into Granite Creek each year. During 2024, approximately 5 million kokanee fry were released into Granite Creek. Those fish are destined for the waters of Lake Pend Oreille, supplementing the wild kokanee population in the lake. The process all starts with adult kokanee that run up Granite Creek, get collected, and then manually spawned by Fish and Game staff each fall. The entire effort is no small undertaking. When the spawning occurs in the fall, staff are often up against the looming threat of winter, and the work window can last as long as a month. After the eggs have been collected in Granite Creek, they are transported to the Cabinet Gorge Fish Hatchery, where they are incubated, hatched, and reared over the winter months. After being reared in the hatchery for a short time, the process comes full circle. The young kokanee are transported back to Granite Creek, where they are released with hopes they move into Lake Pend Oreille, where they will grow and serve as food for both fish and people. Getting the kokanee fry from the Cabinet Gorge Fish Hatchery to Granite Creek is also quite the task, and it utilizes some interesting and efficient technology. Fish are pulled from the raceways to the hauling trucks using a fish pump and a dewatering tower. Fish hatchery manager Dan Dillon put it best when he said, quote, "For them, it's like a big water slide," end quote. Once they are loaded into the hauling trucks, the fry are hauled nearly 2 hours and over a major mountain pass to get down to Granite Creek. Once creekside, the fish are unloaded one hauling truck at a time. They take one more ride on a water slide, racing approximately 100 feet down a pipe from the hauling trucks to the cold, flowing waters of Granite Creek. From there, they are free to begin their lives as kokanee residing in the Lake Pend Oreille system. Ultimately, the very fish released each year will return to Granite Creek as adults 3 years later, when they will be collected and spawned by Fish and Game staff, ensuring their legacy is passed on to future generations. Now, that's all I got on that story, but if you are interested in all the behind-the-scenes action going on to bring opportunities to anglers at Lake Pend Oreille, hit the link in the description to read TJ Ross's story and watch a super cool video basically showcasing everything I just talked about, including the fish water slide. With that, it's time for the Rapid Fire Bulletin. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. Results of the deer, elk, pronghorn, fall black bear, fall turkey, and swan controlled hunt drawings are now available. If you provided a valid email address, you should have already received a notification of your draw results. Hunters are reminded that anyone who applied for a controlled elk hunt, except super hunts, extra hunts, or depredation hunts, is ineligible to buy a capped zone elk tag until 5 days after tags go on sale. Sales dates for capped elk zones except the Sawtooth Zone is July 10th at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. The Sawtooth Zone elk tags will go on sale at 10 a.m. on July 12th for in-person purchases and 1 p.m. for online purchases. Sawtooth tags will be evenly divided between in-person and online sales. To promote safety for people, pets, and wildlife, Idaho Fish and Game, the Magic Valley region, and the Idaho Fish and Wildlife Foundation are joining together to provide personal safety information as well as bear spray trainings that can be used to keep people safe around wildlife. There will be 3 community training courses led by Fish and Game wildlife biologists scheduled for July and August in the Wood River Valley. Each training will focus on black bear and mountain lion biology and behavior with hands-on training using inert bear spray canisters. Each free event will begin at 6 p.m. and last approximately 90 minutes. Make sure you sign up ahead of time. Pre-registration is required. You just got to call the Magic Valley Regional Office, and that number is 208-324-4359. Up to 40 bear spray canisters will also be given away at each event. The free community trainings will be held at the Sawtooth National Recreation Area headquarters on July 11th, at the Warm Springs Preserve in Ketchum on July 25th, and the community campus in Haley on August 8th. For more information, check out Terry Thompson's story on our website. Okay, that's it for this week's stories. It's time for our question of the week. That was a really interesting one, and I'm not just saying that because I submitted it, but sandhill cranes are really cool birds, and this past weekend up in Yellow Pine, I was taking some pictures of them up in this meadow, and I was wondering, how old do sandhill cranes get? So thanks in part to our upland game and migratory game bird coordinator, Jeff Knetter, who lives right downstairs, for his help on this one. So sandhill cranes can live for over 35 years in the wild. First breeding is deferred until 2 to 8 years of age, depending on the subspecies population and individual development, and roughly a third of young are raised per year to the age of independence. This slow growth has been a key obstacle in the conservation and management of at-risk populations. Pairs and families constitute the primary social units, but at times, cranes are highly gregarious, or in other words, social, with extended family members and unrelated birds roosting communally and feeding in large flocks, particularly during migration and on wintering grounds. Cranes are socially monogamous, or as we tend to say, mate for life. Often with long-term pair bonds and extended biparental care of young, although microsatellite DNA markers have recently revealed extra pair fertilization in some cases. Clutch size is normally 2 eggs, occasionally 1 and rarely 3. When nesting fails, cranes will often re-nest. And that's about the type of response I'd expect from a biologist when asking how old sandhill cranes get. Thanks again, Jeff. That's all the news we have for this week. Thanks for putting an ear to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin. If there's something on your mind or if you got a question related to fish and game matters, feel free to drop us a line at podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. Again, that's podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. Thank you so much for listening, folks. We'll catch you next week.